So I was thinking about something. I came in just to tidy up, do some office work. I'm not even dressed for training or anything like that. And I was just thinking to myself, what is it that annoys me when I'm watching videos of self-defense and martial arts? And one of the things that bothers me is when I watch people doing bag work. So when people are doing bag work, some people who profess to do real world fighting, you'll see them at a bag and just wail on the thing without any mind to whether or not I'm moving my shoulders, moving my head, if I have proper footwork, and simulating someone striking back at me. Well, their justification is that, well, I'm just working my aggression. As long as I'm just firing away shots, I'm just working my aggression. It's like, well, that's fine and all, but that's not you're gonna have anyway. You either have that fighting spirit or you don't. What you really should be working on is making sure you have that muscle memory to move your head, shoulders, footwork, whatever's necessary. So when you're striking, whether you come from a Muay Thai pedigree or a traditional Western boxing pedigree or Lethwei, make sure that's there for you. That being said, when people talk about, well, what is Krav Maga exactly? So sometimes you'll hear people who've never done it and they just heard about it, or people who actually train Krav Maga somewhere else. If you ask them, they'll give you two very different opinions. And the truth is, it's neither one of those things. Krav Maga was never meant to be a style or a system that was established, and that's why it's taught into perpetuity. All right, it's not a time-honored system of techniques that have some sort of quasi spiritual or deeper significance. It's not really that. It's meant to evolve. The founder told us that it should evolve with time as new threats present themselves. All right, so that's one thing for the people who do like the classic Krav Maga. Krav Maga is supposed to change over time as we incorporate new styles and new threats present themselves. And for the detractors of Krav Maga, no one's professing that it's superior to another style. No one's professing that it's more dangerous than another style. None of those things. It's a system. It's a system more than a style. And what we do is basically incorporate from other styles what we think will work best in the street. So I'm a pragmatist, as should any Kravist or any martial artist be. I live in a world where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu not only exists, but it's amazing. It works. What they do well. Catch wrestling, Western boxing, Muay Thai, Lethwei, all these things. Why reinvent the wheel? If in my system of Krav Maga, we want to incorporate a Muay Thai elbow or a Lethwei headbutt, then that's what we'll do. All right, if we want to incorporate some karate sweeps or some Muay Thai kicks, that's great. And if along the way we figure out that maybe covering this way instead of this way works better, then that's what we'll do. And if we're going to go to the ground, well, why not catch wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Why reinvent something if that already works? And if we're going to take someone to the ground, why not judo? That already works, along with many other things. There's no one way to do things. All these systems are great. So I look at it as a form of dirty MMA. So when you're training Krav Maga, you have to work on your striking. You have to work on your ground game. You have to work on your clinch game, on throwing people. And then on top of that, weapons, weapons, weapons. Knife defense, gun defense, rifle, shotgun, improvised weaponry, sticks, baseball bats, all of that. All of that merged into one system, that's what we do. And as someone comes on and says, well, what happens if somebody invents a new kind of weapon or they show us a threat captured on closed circuit television or security camera footage, and it's new to us, then we're gonna have to come up with something for that. So that we'll start teaching that. We'll test it and put it under pressure, and we'll do it again and again and see what works best, and that will incorporate that into the system as well. All right, but it's never meant to be superior to one thing or the other. It's simply our approach. Solid Krav Maga, real Krav Maga means that we incorporate from systems that work, and we prepare our students the best we can for the realities of the street. And more importantly, we make sure we honor those systems. If I think that a particular choke on the ground from BJJ works best, I'm gonna say, look, this is from BJJ, it's not from judo or traditional jiu-jitsu, whatever. And I'll say, in fact, if I know the instructor that developed that, then I'll make sure I cite that source and make sure, actually it's being done at a dojo out there or at a school out there. So we make sure we give credit to the people who came up with that, all right? Because ultimately, all we care about is making sure our students get home safe. We're not about trophies or medals or belts, and that's great if you are, and it's fantastic. And I'm the biggest fan of competitive fighting, but it's simply not what we do here. We just want to make sure that, everyday people can get home to their families. So if you want to train, You got to cross train, expose your mind to new ideas, get second opinions, see what's out there. Don't be afraid to experiment with new styles and incorporate things into your own game. And above all else, keep training. One more thing, guys. As you can see, I'm not in uniform. I'm wearing a band shirt. It's one of my favorites of all time. I don't know how you guys feel about having music in the background while you're training. We like doing it, and usually we have the higher belts get to pick what's going to be on the playlist that day. So my particular brand of music is mostly punk rock and street rock and stuff like that. So that's not always the most popular choice, but I'd love to know what it is that you guys listen to when you're training. Feel free to comment below and tell me what's on your training playlist.